spirit this morning. We welcome you as we celebrate all that we remember about Gerald and all that we hold dear. So, on behalf of the family, welcome and thank you very much for being here. After the service, there will be refreshments served at the back of the church. And I'm going to ask Kubus if you come up here and lead the service. Thank you.
We're just going to start by reading a portion of Scripture, and I must tell you, Ewan, thank you so much for the beautiful photo tribute that you put up of your dad. It's quite incredible to see how he has changed over the years, but we are all here today because he's blessed our lives in some way or form. I remember when I met Uncle Gerald the very first time, he said to me, I asked him, what advice do you have for a young man in the ministry? And he said to me, Kubus, create many windows. And windows was his stories by which he touched lives. And he created many windows. And this morning I just want to share a short little portion of Scripture that means a lot to him as well. It's John chapter 14 from verse 1 to 6 and then verse 27. It says there, let not your hearts be troubled. Believe in God. Believe also in me. In my Father's house there are many rooms. If it were not so, would I have told you that I go and prepare a place for you? And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again, and I will take you to myself. And where I am, you may also be, that you will know the way to me, and I am going. And Thomas said to the Lord, Lord, we do not know where you are going. How can we know the way? And Jesus said to him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. Not as the world gives, I give to you. Let not your hearts be troubled, neither let them be afraid.
Good morning, everyone. So I'm John, I'm the youngest. So please bear with me as I recount some of my memories of my dad. So let me just start by saying my father wrote in his autobiography, Riding the Wind of God, that if this dispassionate teacher had written his resume for him when he finished school at Potch Boys High in 1954, it would have said, young McCann is a very ordinary young man of average intellect and ability. He was diligent and responsible at his studies, but could have done better. He displays very little talent for sport or achievement and displays few leadership skills. He will probably take on a humdrum job and spend the rest of his life with the same firm, marry and have children, and eventually enter a boring but comfortable retirement. That was clearly a slow starter. Some of the phrases that have been used to describe my exceptional father now are devout man of God, devoted husband, impassioned preacher, talented artist and illustrator, a wonderful storyteller, respected author, inspirational teacher and mentor, mighty leader, influential coach and counselor, trusted guide, compassionate listener, committed athlete, passionate conservationist and nature lover, an accomplished scholar and loyal friend. Yes, he was all of these things, and most people here today can identify him as such. But to me and my brothers and sister, he was firstly our loving father. And although he wore many different hats, that is the one he wore with the most pride. My father lived a wonderful life and accomplished many different things, which I don't have time to go through right now, but will be touched on later when my brother takes you through a presentation entitled A Life Less Ordinary. But I'll deliver a more personal tribute. To us as children, my father offered us an amazing life, despite often limited means. Some early memories include Easter egg hunts in the forest around Katberg in the Eastern Cape, canoeing the lakes and lagoons of the Garden Route, bass fishing the dams around the Little Karoo, hiking his beloved mountains in the Southern and Western Cape, exploring the Kango Caves and Wonder Caves under his watchful eye, and embarking on many wonderful family holidays, always full with games and other activities, to either our extended family, his sisters in KwaZulu-Natal, other family in Gauteng, around Neisen and Wilderness. I was privileged to be growing up around him when he undertook such feats as the Comrades Marathon, which he completed in 1987, following the steps of one of his boyhood idols, Wally Hayward. And I remember cycling alongside him as he did a training walk between Oudtshoorn and Mossel Bay, crossing the Robertson Pass. And as a 12-year-old boy, I struggled to keep up with him, but eventually caught him at the bottom of the last descent. So I think he waited. I stood in awe as he oversaw controlled burns of fire breaks in wilderness around Carmel Resort, another place we spent many happy holidays as a family. And I was at the inaugural event of the Swartberg 100, a grueling 3-day hiking event which he conceived and brought into reality. As well as the Boyland 90, more local, which was a team-based event focusing on a combination of physical strength and endurance and knowledge of the mountain survival and local fauna and flora. I was always so impressed that he was able to dream up these amazing events and bring them into reality, and proudly stood by him as I saw the impact that they had on the competitors that took part. I was able to spend weekends at the Kango Caves excavating the often unexplored caverns and tunnels which are off limits to the general public, where my father was the senior guide for a number of years. And then obviously my father, the storyteller. It was the way he loved to communicate with people. I'll say one story that always sticks out in my mind is just after his 20th birthday, he wanted to undertake an adventure. So he decided a 300-mile cycle ride from Vereeniging to Galel would be an appropriate one. He packed his bicycle with 25 kilograms worth of luggage in a backpack, and it was really a clattered out 3-speed bicycle. And he set off along the corrugated and semi-tarred roads, and within 3 days he'd reached his goal. So that's 480 kilometers with a heavy backpack, and it was always something that stood out in my mind. It was probably only 200 kilometers. My father always claimed that he was able to hear God speak to him, and I'm convinced that his voice is more easily heard in the quiet of the mountainside or the calm of the open road, and this is where he was at peace with the world. My father was definitely born 2 generations too soon, as I'm sure that in today's day and age he would have been an enthusiastic adventure racer, and events like the Eco Challenge or the Absa Cape Epic would certainly have been on his bucket list. As a filmmaker, keen photographer and storyteller, modern media channels such as YouTube and Twitter, Instagram, and things like GoPro cameras would have suited him perfectly. But he had to make do with what he had, and he did an exceptional job with his slideshows and short films, which he loved to share with everybody at any opportunity. I'm sure that many of you were fortunate enough to have attended these shows. He certainly was ahead of his time. My father was a true inspiration to me, and his adventurous spirit lives on in my family. And we'll miss our conversations after every cycle race, adventure race, or road running event. We always expected a detailed debrief. He was also a keen sports fan and enjoyed following events like the Tour de France, tennis Grand Slams, and he loved his cheetahs, stormers, or sharks, depending on which brother he spoke to. And of course, the Proteas and the Springboks. His love of nature and outdoors allowed him many opportunities to meet and influence the lives of hundreds of people across the country, and would also provide him with the opportunity to combine this with his other passions of art, writing, storytelling, but mostly the glorification of God, which has always been the central thread in the story of his life. We were all raised to know that he was a devout husband and father, but foremost a man who was driven by his love of God, which led him down a myriad of different pathways in life. The passion was shared by my mother, who would always support him and trust in God's plan for him and our family. A more perfect partner could not be found for him, and their love story still leads us in awe. Across all the years, we as children never saw our parents fight or argue, and they always set time aside to spend with each other on a daily basis. My father always made time for 3 things each day: God, Mom, and the children. And in the latter years, his afternoon nap. We all still chuckle as we go through the photo diary of his Israel and European travels, where he loved to showcase and point out the many places that he enjoyed his afternoon nap. Remember the Colosseum, to the Eiffel Tower. My sister's Facebook post said that my father died empty as he longed to, meaning that he had achieved all of his life's ambitions and completed the work that he had set out to do. Some of them miraculously made possible through divine intervention, and one that springs to mind was the invitation from Joy magazine for him to lead a group of readers to Israel in 2011 as the tour pastor. This was one of the last items on his list, and he'd in fact given up on that dream when, out of the blue, just before his 74th birthday, he received a phone call asking him to do this. He was already starting to lose his strength at that stage, but God renewed him, and he embraced the opportunity with open arms and did it to the glory and honour of God. After attending Colleen, my sister's graduation in 2014, his list was complete, and all that remained was the completion of his extended autobiography, the last chapter, which, as he intended, is yet to be written and will be completed by us here today and by his children. My siblings and I have been very fortunate to have the best grandfather for our children, with countless hours spent with them on everything from hiking his beloved mountains and swimming in the icy waters of the local rivers and streams, building puzzles, playing swing ball, painting and doing leatherwork. He also loved to share his stories of Anna and Amos the acorn with them. His artistic influence also rubbed off on many of them, and hopefully this will continue his legacy for generations to come. Dad really impacted each of them, and he'll be dearly missed and fondly remembered by all. To me, my father was a confidant and friend, who I always looked up to and deeply admired. I was fortunate enough to be able to tell him this towards the end before embarking on our adventure to Kuwait, where my family and I now call home. I still remember him telling me, "Go and see the world, my son, and make an amazing life for you and your family. I will always love you, remember you dearly, and make sure that all of your seed remains in our family." My father created 2 paintings called the Agony and the Ecstasy, which illustrate the importance of fire and the progression of Proteus species and parallel this to the existence of man and the need for death to progress into the glory of heaven. Now that his pain and suffering is over, we know that he is basking in the glory of God eternally, and is smiling down on us now. The race is run, the finish line now behind you, and you are restored to the giant that you were in your earlier life. When you look back, know that you ran a spectacular race, and we cheered on along the way by loving family and adoring one. I love you.
For that beautiful tribute written by John. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Colleen, the eldest of the 4 kids and my daddy's little girl. And even today, that's what I am and will be. I've often sat at funerals and tributes to people and listened to people say wonderful things about the person that is gone and thought, why have you left it till now? And because of that, I have never resisted saying what I've felt and what I've wanted to say to people while they've been alive. And I'd like to share part of a letter I wrote to Dad in 2012, in April. I called it a love letter to my dad. During the past weeks, I have become more and more aware that life is temporary, and our goal to live should be to please God and get to heaven where there will be no stress, no pain and no suffering. I have always thought of you as immortal. You have been so strong, so self-assured, so full of life, that I have just not even thought that one day you won't be around anymore. Recently, I have become aware that aging is a tough challenge. I have hated to hear how you can't walk like you used to, how you can't do the things that have given you reason to live, like walk in the mountains and be God's instrument, because I have come to know you as a passionate person. Everything you've always done has been 100%. You have been 100% dad, 100% husband, 100% in whatever work you have done, and 100% God's example. I know without any doubt that God smiles down on you and is very pleased with how you have lived your life, and that He has a very special reward for you in heaven. But I've always wished you could experience some of this reward on earth. So often I've prayed that He would give you a way to enjoy your last years on earth as you deserve to do. And I'm so thankful that He has made it possible for you to reach your goals that you have strived for, and especially the trip to Europe and to Israel. I don't know that I'll ever be ready to let you go, and I would love to think that you'd be spared for many years. But Dad, I know your dream is to share God's glory in the kingdom of heaven forever. I realize that each moment we live is a gift from God, and that tomorrow is never guaranteed. And I don't want to let an opportunity pass of telling you how much I love and cherish you. Never forget that you are very special to us. Always hold on to God's promises and stay positive, and never doubt that He will provide. Your loving daughter. And then Dad replied to me, and I just want to read a part of the letter he sent me. The Lord has been wonderfully good to me over my lifetime, enabling me to fulfill most of my heart's deepest desires. We always had enough, although secretly I do admit there were times I would have liked a little more. The Lord has been gracious to me through my aging years by helping me relinquish some of my life's delights, like climbing and hiking. But I feel satisfied that I've climbed all my mountains, made all my footpaths, written all my books, and painted all my pictures. God's special farewell to the mountains gift was my year-long time of photographing the wonder of the mountains full of flowers after a fire. One of my greatest anticipations is of working in the Lord's garden one day in heaven, walking His amazing mountains and sitting beside His glorious lakes, and meeting up with the wonderful friends and family who have travelled this life road with me. Perhaps due to the slowing down of my aging body, it was good to let go of my fierce determination to do long, fast walks. One of my proud achievements was to walk 10 kilometers at 7 kilometers per hour when I was already in my 70s. My other was to have completed 110 kilometers of footpaths, the last 10 while in my 70s. Yes, the years have been very good to me. But now the problem arises, what is there still left for me to do? I seem to have run out of goals. I have no more books that drive me to write them, no more paintings that ask to be painted, and even my preaching is no longer there. Now I have received promise after promise from God that He will undertake and give me strength to see me through, and enable me to fulfill my destiny till the last full stop. My greatest desire is that I may be able to bless my children and grandchildren before I go. And this is so special because this letter said what Dad was. Dad was a man of passion and dreams, and Dad had so many talents. And the wonderful thing is that he used every single one of them. And I used to look at him and wish that I could have half the drive that he had. As John mentioned, his two desires, and if you have him on Facebook, you will have seen under his two goals in life, was to die empty and to leave big footprints. And Dad died empty. He fulfilled every single one of the goals he set out to fulfill. And what an incredible privilege to be able to say that. And I was privileged enough to spend some quality time with him the night before Jesus came to fetch him. And I just spoke to him about some of the things that he'd done in his life. And I said to him, Dad, I know the last goal that you want to fulfill is to spread your wings and to soar up like an eagle above these mountains that you enjoyed so much. And I said, Dad, now's the time to go. And it was just wonderful being able to let him go and to know that he would. And I know Dad is soaring above the mountains and he's looking down on us today. And he's so proud to see you here and to know that he has touched lives. And it makes me proud to see so many of you here and know that each of you are here because he's touched your lives in a different way. Someone sent my mom a poem last night that I would just like to close off with, that I think it would be Dad's words to us today. Miss me, but let me go. When I come to the end of the road and the sun has set for me, I want no rights in a gloom-filled room. Why cry for a soul set free? Miss me a little, but not too long, and not with your head bowed low. Remember the love that we once shared. Miss me, but let me go. For this is a journey we must take, and each must go alone. It's all a step in the Master's plan, a step on the road to home. When you are lonely and sick of heart, go to the friends we know, and bury your sorrows in doing good deeds. Miss me, but let me go. I'd like to call my daughter forward now. She, about a year and a half ago, when Dad was so involved in studying heaven and preparing himself for heaven, and he was busy writing his book called The Glorious Kingdom, which was about heaven, he wrote this beautiful poem, When I Awake, and Katie's going to share that with us now.
Hi. Okay. When I awake. When I awake, may the rosy tints of dawn mingle with peach blossom fragrance. When I awake, may the riotous colours of a magnificent Creator overwhelm me. May the radiant flashes of a glorious universe enfold me. When I awake. When I awake, may the gentle music of heaven stir me with joyful wonder. When I awake, may the crescendos of harmonies carry me along like dancing waters, until part of those great harmonies and choirs above become wholly part of me. When I awake. When I awake, will Jesus' smile be the joyful welcome of my heavenly dawn? When I awake, and with him, all those loving faces of a lifetime's pilgrimage around, their greetings, warmth, and affection spoken with ringing joy abounding. When I awake. When I awake, one thought above all soaring, to meet my God and know his loving smile, to sense the wisdom of his infinite thoughts, his purposes for every cloud and every trial, to know at last that all is well and that all things in his love will be well forever. When I awake.
Much a favourite of Gerald's is from John chapter 10, verse 10, the second part of that. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. And I think we've heard this morning just how full Gerald's life was. Gerald was a man who lived a full life. He was a man who walked with God. The Apostle John wrote, whoever says he abides in him, that is Christ, ought to walk with him in the same way he walks. And indeed, Gerald walked faithfully and walked in obedience with his Lord. And boy, could he walk. Whether it was rambling on his own or leading primary children on adventure tours or ecotourism in the Cape Floral Kingdom, Gerald could walk. I think we've heard about that. I cannot believe 200 kilometers walking. I'd get totally bored after 10. And when I first met Gerald, it was to preach in his church at Betty's Bay. And after the service, he thanked me for the message and said to me, so now, when are we going to walk in the mountains? And I shivered. Sadly, it never happened, but through his books, I came to understand Gerald's love for God's creation. Whether it was deep underground in the Kango caves or standing on a mountaintop, Gerald was in love with the Creator God. I have a number of Gerald's books in my bookcase, and on Saturday, when I learned of his death, I turned to one of them, this one, A Guide for a Lifetime, which was published in 2005. At that stage, Gerald had still 10 more years of living to do. And as I read those final 2 chapters of the book, I rejoiced to realize that death held no terrors for Gerald, that he knew the eternal guide. He knew him personally, the guide who had led him all the way and took him to his final journey that was about to be made on that Saturday morning. In this book there are 2 final chapters. They're entitled The Final Journey Home and A Glorious Homecoming. Gerald has made that final journey home and he has received his glorious homecoming. And today I want Gerald to speak to us, not me. I want him to speak to us about the eternal guide he knew so well. And much what I'm going to share in a few moments comes right out of this book, A Guide for a Lifetime. As you begin to read the book, you'll notice that Gerald's puckish humour comes forward as he quotes a saying attributed to Woody Allen. He said, "I'm not afraid of dying, I just don't want to be there when it happens to me."
That sounds like him.
Good morning all. I'm Geordie, Gerald's middle son, and I've been asked to convey the word of thanks today. And as my mom said, there are many, so please bear with me. I'd like to start off first of all by thanking our God and Heavenly Father for the long and full life that my dad could have. As you've all heard, he had many talents, many gifts, many abilities, and he used them all to the best that he could. The last time I spoke to my dad, he said that he had no regrets, nothing that he's sorry that he didn't do in life. And he spoke very positively and very passionately about the life ahead, the next life, the life in heaven with our God and Father. It is so fitting today that if you look to the left-hand side, the painting of the giant proteus, which was one of my dad's prized paintings. As you heard, he loved the mountains and he loved proteus specifically, but more importantly the giants. And Dad was and will always be one of the giants to us. The second bit of thanks goes to my mom for the wonderful wife, companion and friend she was to my dad. And especially for standing by him over the last few months during his suffering, caring for him, just providing him with love and everything that he needed, the comfort he needed. Thank you, Mom. A special word of thanks goes to Dr. Van der Vyk and partners, but especially to Dr. Orphy Albertijn, who I see is in church today. Thanks for being there for Mom, for supporting her, encouraging her with all the medical needs that Dad required. And thank you for offering to be available at any time when needed. We appreciate it. Then to Joel Greef and Karim Lombard, who were willing to help Mom care for Dad over the last few weeks. That was also very much appreciated by the family because Mom couldn't have done that alone. To Huis Groenland in Provo for the loan of the oxygen machine. Thank you very much. And to all the Christian friends from throughout the country, from through all the churches in the country who offered praise, support and encouragement. Thank you very much. To Evergreen and especially to Bruce Green from Provo for printing the pamphlets for the service today. That is very much appreciated by the family. The residents of Bottrova for their visits and support directly after Dad passed. We thank you for that, and especially to Tia and Wilma for making accommodation available for all the family for this weekend. Family that came afar, everybody was put up with accommodation available to everybody. So we thank you, Tia and Wilma. Then to Pastor Lionel, thank you for leading the service, and to Kobus Root from the Elton Baptist Church. Thank you very much. Isabel and Esme for arranging the flowers and for setting up the church before this celebration service today. We thank you very much for that. It's much appreciated. To Corey for playing the piano. Thanks very much. The ladies of the churches that Dad was involved with in the community. We're thinking of Elton Baptist Church, Bottrova, the Kleinmond Fellowship Church, even Betty's Bay for providing the eats for after the service and for helping with the tea. Thank you for that. And we, as a family, we'd just like to invite everybody to join us for tea and eats afterwards and to just spend some time with the family. Then, during this week, I was sitting and thinking and wondering what would be a fitting picture to describe my dad's last days. And a picture came to mind, which might not sound very appropriate, but at the end you'll hear why it is very appropriate, is that of the life and the transition of a caterpillar to that of a butterfly. As you know, caterpillars, they eat a lot. Dad didn't eat a lot, but he loved his food. And unfortunately, over the last few months, he lost his sense of taste. So he could not really appreciate what he ate. And due to this, unfortunately, caused him to lose a lot of weight, to go backward quite fast, which is the case with the caterpillar as he comes to the end of his life cycle. Then turns into a pupa, and then becomes inactive for a while, as Dad has become. But after a short moment, a wonderful and beautiful butterfly emerges. And Dad has done that as well. Dad has won his wings and well deserved them as well. And today I'm sure he's, like my sister said, he's soaring over the mountains, looking down on us. Then my mom has asked me to convey a couple of special word of thanks to the children and the grandchildren, starting with you and my oldest brother. Mom says, you have been amazing. You have given me so much practical support for being there at all times. Also for putting together the overview of Dad's life, which we will see just shortly after this. But from my side as well, Ewan, thank you very much. With me being in George and having work commitments, I could not get down to be with Mom over the last 2 weeks. Ewan put everything aside and spent as much time as possible with Mom, sorting out all the odds and ends that needed to be sorted out, and we very much appreciate it. Colleen, you're a wonderful daughter and friend. Thanks for your support, but also to Colleen for coming down last weekend and being able to be there for Dad's last moments. John, it is special having you all the way from Kuwait. Dad is smiling down on us today. Katie, for the visits and the time he spent with Grandpa during his last days, lying next to him, talking to him, and holding his hand. Also, Katie, thank you very much from my side for the last 2 weeks that you were there frequently at Dad's side, and it means a lot. Daniel, your role, thank you very much for keeping Dad warm and cozy, especially for the penguin hat. Calvin and Glenda for the last visit that meant so much to my dad. Michelle, Kieran and Thomas, it was great that you were out in the country at the time, as you're also in Kuwait, and that you're on holiday and that you could also spend time and say goodbye to Grandpa. We will all miss you. Gareth, my son, you had the privilege of spending your school holidays in July with Grandpa and Granny. And you managed to see him at his best before he went backward. Then I would just like to mention as well that we have put a book at the entrance as you leave the church. And we would appreciate if any of you would like to just leave a tribute in that book, or a word of thanks, or a message to the family or to my mom. As you leave, that would be much appreciated. And then in closing, I would just like to say, you've all heard that my dad was a keen athlete in his younger days and did many a race walk, took part in the comrades. And he has run his race and he's come to the finish line. And in true fashion, in true McCann fashion, he has run ahead of us. We all do not know, we are all running a race in life. And as the Bible says, we need to run the race and keep our eyes focused on the prize, which is our God and Father. We are all running the race and we do not know when our race or how our race will end. But I do know this, is that when I reach the end of my race, Dad will be waiting there cheering me on at the finishing line. So Dad, I love you, I miss you. Thank you for my Christian grounding. And like the Spanish say, it's not goodbye, it's not farewell. We'll meet again soon.
In the last 2 weeks going through his computer, trying to organise stuff and finding really interesting stuff about him, some stuff that I never knew. And I managed to get hold of an unpublished copy of his family autobiography, A Lifeless Woman. Katie's cover that she drew for it. This is the only one in existence at the moment. So I've gone through this and I want to highlight some of the areas of his life. And I think you've heard a lot about him today, but this is just sort of getting to show you all the pieces and putting them together. So to start with his early years, and let's see, there's Then we've got him with his two sisters who are both here today. So Marilyn and Norma, it's great to have you here today. Nice haircuts. But then I found this picture of Mom and Dad's wedding. And I looked at this picture and I said, colour in those days? But apparently they had it. So that was a sort of royal type wedding picture, and it's now over 50 years and Mom's been standing by Dad. And they said that they wanted to life together. And then another picture I found was this one. Look at those shorts. This was Dad and his sisters on holiday in the 70s. And obviously they had a lot of good times together. I won't comment on other colours. Okay, and then a very special picture I found is a picture of the four McCann patriarchs. So that is the little squid on the left is me, my dad, with his dad Frank, and his dad Dan. So that was actually a nice picture to find. So if we move on to the next chapter of his life, after his early years, we move on to his forestry years. And there's a picture of young Dad at Sarsfield College. We laid the foundation for many of his future accomplishments. And there's a picture of him with his forestry uniform on. And then this is one part that a lot of you didn't know, and I also found out the details here. He spent 6 years meticulously hand-drawing all the pictures for a series of forestry logging reference manuals. And his mentor at the time, and author of the books, Waldisław Zaremba, told him, leave big footprints, Mr. McCann, leave big footprints. That's Polish, it's my best. I googled these books last week, and after 50 years, they're still available and still in use as reference manuals. So that's quite a legacy of the books. And then we get to Dad's painting of the boggy. It's been warning us of forest fires for over 50 years, and you can still see it sometimes in the mountains. There's still some of them up there, so it's the boggy. And of course, through Dad's forestry days, he played a pivotal role in saving the marsh rose protein species from extinction. And he chronicled that in one of his books, the Kuchelberg Mountains of the Marsh Rose. So let's find another chapter and see where we can go from here. Of course, a lot of you know Gerald as Gerald the pastor. Now, after leaving forestry, I had to live with the stigma of being a pastor's son. Dad went on to achieve his Bachelor of Theology at the ripe old age of 40 and became ordained as a minister. Here's a picture of him standing next to his proud mother and proud wife. But the legacy that he left through his ministry, I think, can be reflected in the lives of the people he affected and changed through his sermons, his counseling sessions, and the messages he delivered. And then, so there's him on the pulpit, and then he also presided over the marriage ceremonies of 3 of the 4 children. So that was very special to have him doing that. Then we get to Gerald the father. So you've all seen us. That's 2 of us when we were very small. And there's one of us when we were in our trick years. And a little bit older, so you can see we always had a family. The family was always together. That was at my wedding with the strapping sons. And the shorter Gerald. And there's another family pic, and then this was taken 3 years ago here at Provo Country Club. Then obviously this Gerald's grandfather. Now, there's Kyle, Connor, Katie, Danielle, Kieran, Thomas, Gareth, Jordan, and he's got step-grandchildren of Desandre, Luke, Daryl, Devon, and even 3 step-great-grandchildren, he said, Matthew and Timmy. So what a legacy that is left behind. If you look at the pictures of the grandchildren, you can see them all there. And all the grandchildren have started to blossom and grow as individuals. They each got their own set of talents. And most of what they lays are happy we're talking about. And most of what kids are becoming has been molded by what they learned from grandpa. And there's one of all of them together, and we even had to insert Carl because he wasn't there at Christmas time. Gerald the mountain man. So, using forestry as a base, one of Dad's biggest passions was hiking and mountain trails. He personally laid out over 100 kilometers of hiking trails which can still be enjoyed today and for many years to come. The views that have been made possible by these trails will remain in people's memories. Dad started the Bona Nights in Swartberg 100, which John talked about, and he partook in a number of these events himself. And of course, in his later years, he loved taking his grandchildren up the mountain. And there's one of the younger Katie, and there's Gareth with him on top of the mountain. So his passion was to share it with his family. Then we get to Gerald the artist, and you've seen, we get to Gerald the athlete. Okay, so we heard about Gerald as a race walker of note, and he's won numerous trophies. There's a picture of him in his race walking gear. He did Simon's 50-mile walk, and then of course everybody's mentioned it before, but his biggest achievement was completing the Kleinmond Marathon in 1988, and he race walked most of the route. So he would walk past the people that are running and he would jog down the hills. So he's actually finishing walking while everybody else is running. And then another thing that you probably didn't know is the older Gerald playing the swing ball, but in 1972 Dad won first place in the nationwide swing ball competition and later went on to set the unofficial South African record of 107 hits in 1 minute. Badminton and table tennis also some of his activities. Okay, so now we get to Gerald the artist. And I think all of you have attested to his art. It's been one of his passions, mainly oils, but he's dabbled in watercolours, leatherwork, and lots of other forms of art as well. Approaches in nature will remain focal point of his art, and his paintings that adorn one of your homes will ensure that this legacy will live on for many years to come. So we just look through some of the pictures there, and some of them here today. Approaches, mountains, and of course that's the family approaches with the mountains. Okay, so we get to chapter Gerald the writer. Now, as the tech son, in the later years, my job for Dad was to find his missing files. So these once every 2 weeks he'd come here and say, my book is gone. And I learned a lot of patience through explaining meticulously how to left-click, how to right-click, and eventually when you couldn't find it, I'd go and get it out of Dropbox and have to put it back. And we normally find his files back. And going through his computer in the last couple of weeks, I discovered wonderful structures on his computer where he had 16 levels, and somewhere down in the 16th level was the file that we wanted. So he had a filing system that worked for him. Okay, so Dan has published over 20 books, ranging from the Christian books, Like a Guide for a Lifetime, inspirational books, through to nature books, and children's books. Who's that? As a storyteller, he also managed to write and perform his one-man plays in Johnny in Exile on quite a number of occasions, and that's him in one of his passionate moments in the play. Okay, so there's his Creatures of Africa, Wacky and Wild. He wrote a couple of short nature stories and eventually put them all together in that book. So it comprised The Leopard Man and the story about the goose and lots of other stories which are actually sort of very light reading. You've all heard about his original autobiography published last year, one of his bucket list items, and he's tweeted now for this version that we're going to be publishing shortly for the family. So once that paragraph is written, and that should happen soon, then we'll be able to complete that for him. Okay, now we get to the Oprah moment. You saw these books in the foyer, and Dad would have liked everybody to own one of his books. So at this point in time, when you leave, look for a book, take a book. If you want to make a donation to help cover costs, there is a little donation box there. Not compulsory, it's more important that Dad wanted everybody to have one of his books. So if you go out, choose one of the books. Okay, so other aspects of his life were his photography, his slideshows, his presentations, his tour guiding at the caves, and he spent 2 years as principal teacher at Kingsway College in Kobo, also that way enriching the lives of the children. And then I came across a document on his PC which laid out some things he would have liked to include in his memorial service. He was always planning ahead and he had actually written quite a bit about what he would like today to be.
And in it he talks about a song that guided and inspired him along this journey of life. And I thought it appropriate to play an extract of the song. From 1926 by Sir Harry Lauder, Keep Right On to the End of the Road.
Every road through life is a long, long road filled with joys and sorrows too. As we journey on, how your heart may yearn for the things most dear to you. With wealth and love to show, but onward we must go. Keep right on till the end of the road. Keep right on to the end. Though the way be long, let your heart be strong. Keep right on round the bend. If you're tired and weary, still journey on till you come to your happy abode, where all you love and you're dreaming of will be there at the end of the road.
Okay, so that was one of Dad's much loved Scottish songs from 1926. And then to end my presentation, I've got a special piece of you.
All God's thoughts towards you are good. God is never the author of evil towards those who love him. He has wonderful plans for you, plans and thoughts to give you a future and a hope. Trust him.